Hey, thank you. It is 3:02, and we will call to order this monthly meeting of the Board of Commissioners for the Housing Authority of the City of San Buenaventura. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Scrogno? Here. Commissioner Simonson's absent. I think she'll be late, but she'll be joining us. Commissioner Schulkin?
Here.
Commissioner Salcedo?
Here.
Commissioner Keller?
Here.
Vice Chair White? Here. Chair Polanski?
I am here. 1.03, moving on to adopt the agenda. Staff, any recommended changes to the agenda?
No changes. We might, when we get to the adjournment, look for different dates for future meetings, but we can talk about it now when we get there.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
The agenda.
As presented.
All right.
I second. I was gonna say, before we, let me speak, John. I mean, Jim.
Yeah, no, we look alike.
Can I pull the community resident services?
Oh, yeah, but we'll
For
adopt the
discussion.
agenda first, then we'll.
Oh,
get
I'm
to the
sorry,
consent
I'm
agenda.
going into the consent agenda, sorry.
Okay, no problem. We have a motion by Jim, a second by Barbara. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? It passes unanimously. Okay, we move on. We're almost there. 1.04, the FSS graduate, always an exciting.
Yeah, I'll introduce Sean just now, Sean Lemus Valdivia, he'll tell me if I got that right. He's a FSS graduate, but I just want to give you a couple tidbits about his story and then let him tell it in more detail.
Okay.
He enrolled in FSF in 2016, graduated with $14,000 in the program in 2022. He improved his credit and savings, completed barber school, started his own business, worked with the BCC-DC to pursue home ownership and bought his first home for his family.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I would say that's a success story. Yes. And so I'd like to turn it over to Sean to tell you all about himself and 5 to 10 minutes.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, as you said, my name is Sean. I was part of the program, heard about it, around 2016 or so. I've been with the housing program for quite a while prior to that. And then when I heard about the FS program and what it helps you accomplish and help you set goals and kind of keep track to those goals, it made our life better as a family. Like I said, I was able to fix my credit score, help save up as far as set goals as far as career and education. And it was a great opportunity for me and my family. So, came through a lot. Brief little backstory. I've had my oldest son, I have 4 children altogether. My oldest son, I had him when I was 14 years old.
Oh.
So, going to work, to school, to Little League, all at the same time. It was a big juggle around that time, and then shortly after I had my second child, my daughter, and that's kind of when we heard about the housing program and the benefits it can help us as well. And so we joined back then, and I was a transfer in from, I grew up here in Ventura, but transfer back in from Kern County, back to Ventura. And everything kind of there's, pushing myself up and, trying to get a better life for my children, right? That's what everybody wants to do. And shortly after, made the decision to go back to college and transferred back out to Kern County for about 5 years and pursue my education out there, which I received a business degree out there. So I have my associates in business over there. And my wife also have an associate's degree in a dental program as well. So 5 years, it's kind of a lot to take for Kern County, so yeah, exactly, right. So made the decision, we went back after, that was our 5-year plan, continue education, got some work experience, moved on back. And was working for a pretty big company out here for a while and doing process coordinator and project development for them. But at the time, it's kind of when I realized that my passion was barbering. And that was something I was doing growing up in high school and of course my boys as well. So got a lot of experience and messing up haircuts back then, with clients.
Good training.
Yours.
Exactly, right, so I don't have to worry about that. So, yes, and, made that decision to change about maybe 9 years ago or so. And, everything from there is kind of, getting up, boosting as far as with the career goals. When I started with Megan, she helped me out a lot as far as, making sure goals are getting set and, continuing and pushing forward. And, where do I go from there? After that, decided to become a barber instructor at the local barber school here at, Lou Ross downtown. And so I was there for a while and now I'm pursuing my own, career as well. I want to open in my own business. We also have, we have two already now. Me and my wife, we have a e-commerce business that we work with, clothing brand, and now I'm opening up my own barber shop here in Ventura. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everyone's paperwork gets signed and everything gets signed. We start next month, so we'll start doing some. But with that program, having to set goals as far as with the money that was helped providing was about 14K, right? 14,000. And that helped the extra icing on the cake for down payment assistance for purchasing our house. And the way with the economy is and everything, we got in at a perfect time just before housing prices shot up, rates shot up. So we got in at a great time. We got very blessed with our homeowner. We were renting the property that we were at and we bought straight from the owner. So we got really blessed with that as well. It's very difficult for a lot of people, and I know the FSS program will benefit them a lot and help push them to that goal of, seeing that finish line of owning your own home. Well, let me see finish line. There's always something to do with that. There's always something. So, but yeah, I feel like the program is really great for a lot of people, as long as they see their goals being met and things getting progressed for them and their family and hopefully, we see more graduates like that as well. So I push for a lot of people and I have talked with Megan before, it's been 2 years since that has happened, when I bought my property and now that I'm opening up my own business, my own barber shop and the things I want to do with the program and help out as far as, donating time to take care of, come out here or, vouchers, things like that to help out everybody as well. Cause I was in those same shoes. So, looking forward to that and, maybe I can work with you guys too, sooner on down the line.
That's great.
So any questions?
Combining the barber school with your business.
Yes.
Be great, with opening up your business. Good.
Where is your shop gonna be and what's it gonna be called?
We are going to, well, the paperwork gets signed this next 2
Yeah,
weeks.
knock on wood.
Knock on wood, right? These negotiations, right? So off Ashland in Ventura, right next to Ventura College.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect location, perfect location. So, my whole marketing strategy for that is since Ventura College is literally right next door. Get intertwined with the schools as much as possible. I have, with my children, they're getting older, they're into sports locally a lot, so. If we can branch into that market too as well, we'll do really well for the community, so.
I'll wait.
Come on, Tiernan. Come on.
I wanted to give Megan just a sec, because obviously she made this happen.
Yes.
And supporting this work, so I wanted to say a few words about.
I appreciate that. I mean, at the end of the day, the residents are the ones that do the work, right? The screening technique for our program is motivation, and he was clearly motivated. But the nice thing at the end is the full circle where he wants to give back. That's the biggest takeaway, is that now he potentially might want to give back to our residents, or maybe even rent his house through the Section 8 program. So that's kind of like the icing on the cake. But yeah, I appreciate you coming and sharing your story.
Definitely.
I think we had a council member join us. It's good to hear from a successful FSS graduate who is going to be, did he join?
He's behind you.
He's up on the screen. Not rookie. Anyway, it's great to hear, not just a FSS graduate, but a potential business owner.
No, it's
here in the
awesome.
city.
It's congratulations
Thank you.
on all your success, and that's wonderful. Yeah, great job.
Yeah.
You should have said your note, he was right behind you.
I got even closer.
Any other Question, we really appreciate you taking the time, because you are a very busy person right
Oh,
now,
yes, definitely.
to let us know. It's always great to hear about success coming out of the FSS program. And I mean, your success is extraordinary, and we wish you all the best in negotiating that lease and opening business, but it is something that our council member can share. That, it's not just housing people here, but it's also helping people to develop and meet their goals and dreams, which is really, really great to hear. So thank you so much for coming in and
No
sharing
problem,
that.
guys, thank you.
How old are your children?
Oh. Let's
Gonna do the
see,
math?
20, 17, 13, and 9. So 3 boys, 1 girl. So yeah, my daughter's senior, she played, my 2 older kids, my 2 older children, they went to Foothill. So my daughter played sports for them, so hers her senior year, so she'll be graduating this year.
Yay.
So my 2 younger boys, we got them in with the dual immersion program, which is another great program for, the schools, and so I think they transferred to Ventura High, so yeah, it's a great program for them too, so.
And Megan, thank you so much for your role. It's not magic. People are there to help, and really appreciate the team that you have over there, helping folks, again, meet their goals.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. That's always a great note to start the meeting, and you're welcome to stay all 6 hours.
My son's got to play on game. Thank you guys so
Very
much.
subtle
Thanks for
accent.
having me. Yeah, you guys have a great day.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Nice meeting you guys. Great job. Bye. You as well. Yeah.
Just be you, John.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you. I'll make my rounds around.
I'm back soon.
Sliding in business card.
Checking out who needs a haircut. Okay, that is a really, really good note to begin on. That's why we're here. Okay, we move on to item number 2. This is the consent agenda. We will consider the consent agenda in its entirety, unless a commissioner would like to pull an item for separate discussion and or vote. We will start with our esteemed CEO, anything he'd like to add to his report, and then we'll move to Selma.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things I wanted to highlight. One, and you have my report in front of you, but one is, Karen's gonna give an update on Valentine Road in a minute, but I wanted to let you know, we've already hired the first 2 key positions at Valentine Road. So as you recall, we have a senior property operations manager we hired, and we also hired a senior case manager. Those are the first 2 key positions that really will tie the whole team together at Valentine Road. They both start on Monday. So we're very excited about that. One of them is our internal promotion, Leora, from one of our existing case managers, and the other is an external person. His name is Fritz. And they're gonna be a great team. And in fact, Fritz was part of the team that interviewed Leora, so that we wanted to make sure that partnership was really critical. So we're very excited about that. And we're off to the races to look at fill the other positions as we go along. At your last meeting, you had a bunch of visitors from the Palms downtown and other properties, and I think you all would agree they were very respectful.
Yes.
Had very strong concerns, but they carried themselves well. So the following Friday, I held a coffee with the CEO at the Palms. I had my backup with Laura and Letty with me, so we spent a couple hours at the Palms on a Friday morning just listening. Obviously not talking anything about the specifics of the personnel matter, but really talking about their overall concerns and wishes for the Palms, and I think it was really well received. And the good news is we've just now announced a new property manager for Palms. It's not public yet. I'm not gonna say too much here, but we've made a decision on that. It's just not been public yet. So I got my HR director, okay, don't say the name, don't say the name.
We don't have a beeping, sleep out,
But I really think that was a nice result of that, them coming here. I thought they deserved some personal time after taking the effort to come to the board meeting. So I think they appreciated that. And then a couple weeks ago, we had the governor's senior staff advisor for homelessness visiting us. Her name is Hafsa Kaka, and she toured several sites in the city. Supervisor Matt Levere organized it, and one of the sites was Valentine Road. So we had a great tour with the governor's office. I was really excited by that. It's scholarship time again, and I know we've had a couple of rough years of not a lot of activity in scholarships. Last year we gave one. We're about to award 5 scholarships this year. Four of them to a four-year college and one to a community college. And as I noted in my report, we're gonna up, because we've had lack of activity over the last couple of years, we're gonna up the amount they each get this year to make it a little more special, and we're really excited about that. The property management team, a couple weeks ago, had another training with Ventura Police Department. This time it was on active shooter training and dealing with drug houses. And so I think it was really well received. I think it was a really good discussion, and the police department continues to be a great partner for us. Thank you, Mr. Councilmember, for lending your police department for us, as you have often do.
It's a shame that active shooter training is a requirement.
I know,
But yeah, it's really great that.
It was really great. We also, a couple weeks ago, we hosted the city's community development department, had their staff meeting here at Westview 2. So they had their regular monthly staff meeting at Westview 2 in the community meeting room, and then we also gave them a tour of the building, and I think that was really well received, and we're happy to have them there. We need them a lot over the next couple of years, and so, and just on a side, and Karen came in more detail, but they gave us exact deadlines of when the plan check would be returned for Valentine Road, and they exactly hit the mark. So we are almost permit ready for Valentine Road for the first phase, and so the city's been a really great partner there. I know Selfa and Kate both joined me in Washington DC last week for the Housing EAS conference, and they're both prepared for their long presentation of what they learned. So we can fit that in as you see.
Video, song and dance.
Just a heads up that HUD has selected us to do an audit of the housing authority, so.
Congratulations.
We're very excited about that. So they'll be here for a week in July. It will actually be the week of your July meeting, if we have a July meeting. And so that will be an interesting process. We're all looking forward to that. And Karen is doing a lot of work to make sure we have all the documentation ready to go. I also note that the county is considering a local bond measure for local funding for affordable housing. The board is going to look at the results of their poll, the Board of Supervisors, on Tuesday. So we're an active participant in that work. And there's an event on June 6th where we'll be hopefully kicking off the campaign, should the board put it on the ballot, to see if we can get a local funding source. And I think, Karen, it's supposed to raise $650 million or so. So that's real money for our local community. The Cosina ad hoc committee of the board had their first meeting yesterday. So we're continuing to look at the future of Cosina, and we'll be bringing stuff back as that comes about. And then speaking of events, June 18th, you have a flyer in front of you. We have set the date for the celebration of Westview 2. This date is selected because the highest person on the totem pole, Mr. Carbajal, is available that day. So that's why it's on a
That's how I
Tuesday.
schedule my stuff.
Exactly right. We are inviting, of course, the council members and many other dignitaries, and we're still putting the details together, but we're very excited about that. The building, if you haven't been, it looks fantastic, and we're really proud of it. And then,
Well, we really appreciate the city support. I mean, we talked about Valentine Road, but also, here. So
it's been great. And then I would be remiss not mentioning today is Stephanie's last board meeting. With the Housing Authority, so I wanted to at least acknowledge that. We've talked about that for the last couple of meetings, but I don't know if Stephanie wants to say a few words. I put her on the spot.
Well, yeah, not on the spot particularly, but there's absolutely no reason I can't take a peek at you from across the Atlantic. Because you are virtual. So I'll just leave you with that. Thank you.
yes, and we're public meetings. It's a few hours difference in time.
Yes.
I'm still recovering from it.
But I might be taking a peek.
Middle of the night, but okay.
Thank you very much for all the stuff that you did for the last 13 years.
Yeah, 11 and a half.
Well-
Yeah.
It's not like
It's counting up, yeah.
Round up.
But I really appreciate all the support, and I say it out loud again, commissioners, the board, you have been so supportive of me right from the get-go and of the team, and in helping grow the team and advise us. And just help us, give us good direction. I really couldn't have written a better story myself. Thank you so much.
We really do appreciate it. And like I said, starting the way we did, just shows the fruits of what you and your department have been able to do.
Yeah,
And really changing the lives of so many residents for the better.
it is quite incredible. It is quite incredible. Little old me, and now there's a team.
Yeah.
Yeah. a great
But
team.
best wishes and
Thank you.
and everything. And yeah, please do join. Yeah, we will give you special accolades.
I was just reminded, Mr. Chair, that we have one other announcement, that we have another retirement to announce. Mr. Fred, one of our maintenance managers,
Oh,
he's been with the agency for 36 years.
Yeah.
He's retiring, he's got some family obligations, his kids are all in Hawaii, he's got a daughter moving to Germany. And so he's decided to retire at the end of June 20th, I think. So he'll be here a little longer. We are organizing a little
Okay.
celebration for him, but
Okay.
that's a
Let us know.
long tenure at any organization. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
he'll be missed.
No, please give him our best. And yeah, do let us know when the date
Party
is
is less know the party.
set. Yes. Yeah, we'll get food recommendations.
Yes, I'm sure that's, yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Selpa, there was an item or two you wanted to pull.
I did, I wanted to pull the community services report. I wanted to give Stephanie an opportunity to give us a remarks and comments on some of the activities that were conducted in this previous month, actually.
Mhm.
I'm especially interested to know what we're doing, where our work is being focused on primarily. Is it children? Is it adults? Is it, so if you could just give us a,
I would say currently it's a 50-50. Focus on adults and children. The most concentrated input is at Westview Village. I say Westview, I know it's 1, 2, 3. Because we have multiple partners that are working here, multiple youth partners. So that is the most concentrated area, although the Ross program coordinator is working across other public housing sites, with a lot of programming. But I would say it was more or less 50-50. Because, for example, the Everyone on Computer classes, that was focused for working adults and seniors. A lot of the health and wellness programs and the nutrition programs are also for seniors. Yeah, really, I think I'm telling it as it is, 50-50 right now, right? Yeah,
Which is great.
I think if you'd gone back, say 4 or 5 years, I think it would have been one of those 80-20. It would have been more senior and less youth. But now we've got all these great partnerships that are actually working together and created their own stakeholder group, thanks to us asking them to do that. And there's more concentrated youth programming.
along with that, I wanted to refer back to your report, Jeff, on the scholarships and the fact that we haven't been giving out very many scholarships. And so that's why I was interested in knowing whether we were focusing any efforts on our youth to help prepare them and plan for college, and also to apply for the scholarship, and what we were doing in that arena.
Yeah, really nothing much at the moment. I mean, Ricardo and I know that years ago we had a scholarship savings program in tandem with the bank. So it's a whole curriculum of advice on career education, etc. We haven't done that, but the outreach has been great, but the take up has been really cool for the scholarship.
Any idea?
3 years. No, a couple of years back, we thought, okay, it's to do with the WISH program, I believe, Ventura, yeah. And
Promise.
yeah, Promise, that's right. Ventura Promise, but we don't think it was that either. And then we've got social media, there's door to door, there's digital bulletin boards, connection with the schools. Just couldn't get them in.
I would say too, when you give one out, it's hard to really make that much of a celebration, so it doesn't create a lot of energy for the next. This year, we're gonna give many more out,
Mhm.
and we've increased the amount, and just by sharing that story with our residents, that there's more at stake. If you apply next year, hopefully that will build some momentum,
Yeah,
but and we started off stronger, and then we lost momentum during COVID, I think, for the most part.
yeah. Last year one, the year before one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the year before that, I think it was 4.
So in my view, this is a turnaround. A
Yeah.
couple of
I
pretty
hope
bad
so.
years that we
It's
hope
a
it's
shame
not.
to leave money on the table, especially if we
Yeah.
have it to give, and, I would hope that we were looking at that and, reaching out to more youth, if
Yeah.
we're working with them,
Yeah.
to have that connection with them and encourage them and maybe even help them in preparing
Yeah,
their statement or their.
there's definitely a gap to be filled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
maybe
just
even
like-
past recipients.
I think just
Yeah.
like today when we brought a recipient, FSS recipient, and he came and told us what he did,
Mhm.
it wouldn't hurt to bring other people, that are with the housing authority
Mhm.
that could possibly hear him speak. And that's that one-to-one contact with somebody that
Yeah,
they're not listening to us, that they may view as successful, but they're looking at somebody who has become successful, that was where they were. So, the promotion is,
Yeah, and we're very fortunate with Sean that he really wants to do that. He really wants to
Yeah.
do that in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everything he's done is fantastic.
Thank you.
The COVID was something that.
Yeah.
Yes,
None of us could anticipate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great work here. We're gonna miss you.
I will miss you. I know I will.
Something tells me that you're not done. You're gonna do something across the pond.
but
Oh, yeah.
she will zoom in.
I
Commissioners, any other items you'd like to pull? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
Okay, thank you very much. We have Selpa as the maker of the motion, Diana as the second. We do have a motion as second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? It passes unanimously. Okay, we move on to item number 3, public communications. This is the opportunity for any member of the public to speak to the commission. It may be an agendized or non-agendized item. It must be within the purview of the commission. I do not have any speaker slips. Francisco,
No public communications on my end, Kristen?
There's nothing on my end.
council member, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's, Karen says, oh, I heard you're gonna be here today. I enjoy your meetings much more than many of the meetings I'm involved in. But first of all, I wanted to say, thank you to Ricardo for the amazing tour from Westwood Village. And I was so impressed with what you're doing there. And so congratulations on that. And thank you so much for continuing to make sure that we're informed and that we see what we need to see. I appreciate that so very much. I wanted to also give you an update on the wave. I thought it might be a good idea to share with you. There's 15 units over there and a couple of them were in transition, but I want to tell you that all 13 families, came down for supportive services last month.
Wow,
And,
that's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. And I will tell you that we had, food pantry, food assistance, transportation assistance, someone dining cards, meetings, we went with them. So of the services rendered, there was about 56 services rendered to our families that live at the Wave. We had 160 contacts, which means that there was 160 conversations that took place last month of those that live there. We had some victories, some milestones. There's 3 in particular that have health goals that they've kept those going and they're doing well. Also, one of our students, one of our youth, won a $50 gift card because of all the time that they come down and spend time and they share. And it's just been wonderful to see the growth. We had one family member who is dealing with some personal issues that is willing now to go get help to get those issues taken care of, which I thought was super good because for a long time, that wasn't the case. And because of the relationships that are being built, people are getting helped. I also wanted to share that Yvonne Lopez, your housing specialist.
Mhm.
So we had a resident who had to move. And our team came in and met with Yvonne. And Yvonne did everything she could to make sure that he would get housed again. Unfortunately, on the other end, it didn't work out. But I gotta tell you, I was just so thankful for Yvonne and for her caring as much as she did to meet with our team, to work with our team, to go above and beyond to make sure that that resident got housed. And made sure he had the voucher that he needed to move on. So I just wanted to say to all of you, she did an awesome job with us. And I appreciate your team. Your staff is wonderful. And so anyway, I wanted to share some
Thank you.
positive things with you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And please let Yvonne know,
Martina.
that, yeah, that's really, important. That's really good to hear. And Ricardo, excellent job. Clean up the toy director. But thank you so much.
Yes,
For coming and for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
I thought you were racing off to join the Zoom instead. Nice.
Turn around, Jimmy.
Even better. Yeah, I know. Okay. I feel like I'm ignoring it. Okay. Any further communications, Francisco?
Anyone on the Zoom call that wishes to give public communication, either unmute yourself or raise your hand? Okay.
Okay, thank you. We will then close public communications. We will move on to item number 4. This is our formal action items. 4.01, the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of San Buenaventura receive and file the annual financial report for the fiscal year ended September 30th of 2023. Joe's favorite time.
You got me, for the next 2 items. The item before you is to receive and file the September 30th, 2023 audit report. Like to say that this is the 3rd consecutive year that we have had no findings, which is always a good sign. We're in
It's really
strong
great. Excellent.
shape. Before we move on to Ben, I'd like to thank my staff and everyone and the entire staff of the Housing Authority for helping out in providing information to Ben's firm, Henderson Pilotary, and getting the audit done in time. This was done actually back in April, but we decided to hold off until now to present it to the board. And tomorrow I'll be submitting this through the normal process, so we'll be all official. And from the great state of Alabama, we got Ben on the line, and he'll be doing a presentation.
Thank you, Ben, for being here. It's always great to see you.
Yeah, same here. Appreciate y'all having me. I hope everybody's doing well over there on the West Coast.
Everyone's doing, it looks like everyone's doing well. Maybe except I don't recognize the council member coming.
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
than that, how's in Alabama?
Good. Can't complain. Just starting to heat up a little bit, but other than that, pretty good. Yeah, it's that time of year.
We really appreciate it again, all the work.
No, we appreciate y'all. Yeah. Yeah, we appreciate. The first thing I wanted to say is I appreciate the Housing Authority staff. Everybody, as always, every year has been very helpful, very kind, hospitable. We just, every year have a very pleasant experience coming to the office and doing the audit. So it's not always the case with some clients, but every time it's always that way with the Housing Authority. So we really appreciate it. And then I guess, does everybody have a copy of the audit report in front of them?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So starting out, just if y'all will go to page 66 of the audit report. This is kind of the summary of the results of the audit. So basically, let's see, it's called the schedule of findings, question cost. If you look, section 1 is kind of a summary of the results, broken into 2 subsections, the financial statements and federal awards. As Joe has mentioned, there were no findings. So what we say is that's a clean, unmodified opinion. We didn't have to change anything. No findings, very good results, both in the financial statement part of the audit and the federal awards part, which is kind of like the more compliance, HUD or federal agency compliance requirements. We have to kind of audit that along with the numbers. And so everything looked good. Financial statement compliance. So just like I think the last 3 years, Joe, is that what you said? Yeah, I think in terms of no findings, I think the housing authority's just doing an amazing job there. So and kind of moving on from that, we'll just kind of go to the financial statements. If you start, I think it's page 19. You got the statement of net position. That's page 19 and 20. So that's kind of a snapshot of the financial position of the authority, like at any given time. So fiscal year end is September 30th, 2023. So those numbers are what they were at that date. So basically the most important thing, we could talk about all these different financial statements all day, but getting down to the most important thing here with that statement, I feel is like we do quick ratio. We different ratios that we do to kind of identify how the health of the authority and stuff like that. But the quick ratio kind of helps measure like the housing authority's liquidity with being able to pay down debt and have enough funding to take care of all their obligations. The quick ratio, we got a score of 13. Anything over a 1 is good. So 13 was really amazing. And basically what we're doing is we're just taking the total assets and dividing them by the total liabilities. So you got the assets section that includes the current and non-current assets. It doesn't include the deferred outflows of resources section. But you see the total assets of 146 million on page 19, and then on page 20, total liability. No, I'm sorry, current liabilities and current assets. So on page 19, the total current assets of 18,521,000, and on page 20, the total current liabilities of 1,412,000. Those two numbers. You divide the liabilities into the assets and you get that 13, which is excellent. So basically what we're saying is you have enough current assets to pay off 13 times the current liabilities that you have. So that's a really good position to be in. And then on the next page is your statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund net position. So this is kind of, your revenues, your expenses, the changes in the net position are like what they call otherwise, your net income or loss. So that change in net position, is $6,308,000. That's really good. You got a positive, basically like net income. And when you consider like what we do for a good ratio test here for the income statement, is the solvency ratio. So like in terms of the solvency ratio is used to kind of see if there's enough cash flow to pay off long-term debts and also meet short-term obligations. It kind of looks at the help determine whether or not your finances are healthy. That we got a ratio amounted 32%. So anything over 20% is really good. So that is really good. That's basically your net position divided by your total liabilities. That's how we get that, track that number. So that's housing authority. Again, everything we look at when we're looking at the financials, great position to be in. And then on the page, let's see, page 22, just real quick. The only thing of importance is just to know that your cash increased. If you see at the bottom, net decrease in cash and cash equivalents increased $1 million. So that's always good. You can get into more, it's a little bit more complicated, the cash flow. So I won't get into all the different categories and stuff, but just know that that's always good. And it's been doing that, like the trend has been going with an increase in cash the last few years. So that's really good. So that's the financial statements. Does anybody got any questions about the financial statements?
Commissioners.
This is could you say a little bit more about what the component unit figure?
Yes,
represents?
yeah. So the component unit column is, there's two different types of component units. They're basically legally separate entities, like they've got their own tax identification number. They're not a part of the housing authority because they're their own entity. So this column that you see in the financial statements component unit is solely triads numbers. Triad is one type discreetly presented component unit. There are homecomings, Casino Sin Fronteras, and Chapel Lane LP are all blended component units. And you'll see, like, you won't see them. You'll see they're actually included within the primary government column. So because they're blended, they basically meet certain criteria that says, okay, well, they're closer to being part of the housing authority than Triad Properties is. So, and we go through a lot of different analysis using governmental accounting standards and things like that basically lead us into how to get to these conclusions. So the housing authority has 4 components, and only Triad Properties is separated out on this on the financial statements.
Does having its own separate board, is that one of the
Yes,
considerations?
yeah, that's one of the big, yeah. Yep, exactly. So, and homecomings being similar, and then also some of the other things that go into it, financial burden or benefit, imposition of will, these other things that we kind of got to go through these steps to say, okay, does this meet that criteria? And all those other ones do meet the criteria to be blended, and basically just, it's almost like you have the housing choice voucher program, you have the business activities program, public housing program within the housing authority. You'd almost treat homecomings and Casino Sin Fronteras and Chapel Lane LP as though they're just another program under the housing authority. The only difference is if you go to page, let's see, page 56. Yeah, if you go to page 56, you'll see there's an extra footnote disclosure called blended component units. And the only thing you have to do for the blended component units, since they are blended and you don't see separate financial statements within the financial statements, is that they have to have a footnote that provides condensed financial statements broken out by entity. So you'll see on that page 56, you have homecomings, Casino Sin Fronteras, and Chapel Lane LP. They're more simplified financial statements, but that's so that anybody can come and look and see, okay, this is the breakout of these numbers from the housing authority's numbers. And of course, Chapel Lane has its own audit by a separate auditor. And Homecomings is actually having its first audit this year. So that will have its own separate audit going forward. At least for this next year. The next year we'll have audited numbers. So yeah, any other questions about that?
No,
Jeff
great
had-
questions, though.
Jeff,
Hi Ben, how you doing? Good to see
Hey,
you.
good, how are you?
Good. When I look at all these numbers
Mhm.
for the past year, I think, well, those are nice numbers. However, how do they compare to last year?
Good, yeah.
You've been doing this for a while, and you probably have a feeling of just, how the roller coaster is riding. I'm more concerned about the roller coaster next year,
Yeah.
but as far as, support from the federal and state government. So I'm just wondering, what you see in this from last year.
Yeah, everything's trending upwards. I mean, going back, like the cash flow statement, you see increase in cash, that's easy to see. The change in that position was 6.3 million, meaning that basically your revenues minus expenses increased by that much. So you had that much more revenue over expenses this year. So that's a lot. The fact that we're gonna have, one of the things I was gonna talk about in the footnotes is that Chapel Lane LP came on board in terms of the financial statements last year as a blended component unit, and that was a result of the tax credits compliance periods being over and the housing authority getting the ownership interest back in that. So it comes back into the fold. So each year that we have that happen, I think Soho is probably going to be next. So if the housing authority decides to acquire that back from the limited partners, that their financial statements will start to pile up into the housing authority's financial statement. So that's going to make it look even better. And it's being put in there for a reason, because all of a sudden now the housing authority has control. So it's additional resources that the housing authority has under its control. So all that's going to make the financial statements improve over the next few years. Because those tax credit compliance periods of 15 years, we're coming up on that with a lot of these different projects that have been going each year. Like right now, we got Westview phases 2 and 4, I think, are kind of either getting finished up or starting. And of course, the housing authority is always doing new stuff. The Valentine Road? Is that the name of the project?
Yes. Yeah, good memory.
Was that?
Good memory.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, so all that stuff is going to keep improving the housing authority's financials. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I can point to that's of concern, and I can't. I mean, the funding continues to be good, like the federal funding, the funding sources, the diversification of revenues. I think that's always important, and the housing authority does a really good job of making sure that they've got good funding diversification, like developer fees, management fees, all this stuff. I think is good. A lot of housing authorities don't do a good job with that. A lot of housing authorities you'll see is if income in the area goes down, rent, income goes down, and they struggle. So, we're not relying on just one thing. So that kind of helps, the peaks and dips and all that stuff that can come along with affordable housing, public housing. So to answer your question, now I think housing authority is in great shape compared to last year. I think they, got a good future ahead of them.
Thank you a lot, Ben.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we really appreciate that. I know initially, years ago, Ben, I remember a conversation with RAD, the Rental Assistance Administration first started,
Yeah.
and we were looking at, getting out of the traditional public housing, repositioning into the tax credit properties. And we talked about that. Yeah, I think we both saw that as the future of the housing authority being able to really secure its future.
Yeah, exactly. And anybody that asks, I always try to push them that way. Try to tell them it's important. Like, this is the way they're going. They're going there for a reason. Capital funds are going away eventually. They're struggling to keep up with the need. So I think that's the main reason they push people towards RAD or mixed finance. So y'all did it early, and I think you're gonna see the rewards of it, or you're seeing the rewards of it.
All right. Commissioners, any other questions? Around. I don't see any other questions. Joe, anything you still want to share while Ben's on?
Like I said, I really appreciate Ben's work and the assistance from the housing authority staff in getting this done.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, and there were some things that were added on by HACSB. On leases and subscriptions that were, added data from, like, especially from Francisco's area that we had to provide Ben, but
yeah, Yeah, they're always busy, the GASB.
Yeah,
It seems like after COVID, they're like, let's go, let's do this.
yeah, they kind of held it, they held it back,
Yeah,
because of COVID, and once
exactly.
COVID was gone.
Yeah, yeah,
They said, yeah, we're gonna introduce 2 new things.
yeah.
It really have no impact, but we just.
No. Mhm.
Well, one thing I appreciate, Ben, since you were with us during that transition of
Yeah.
RAD and early adopting, is you really helped to guide us from the auditor perspective, which is really important. It really, helped us stay on track. So we really do appreciate your help in that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, yeah. Well, the housing authority staff has done a good job. It's very complicated to understand these deals unless you have people that know what to keep, what to provide, and the evidentiary documents for each one of these projects can be anywhere from 1,500 to 4,000 pages of documents, and a lot of housing authorities don't know about maybe any of it. They're like, what? I don't know what that is. So to have staff that knows, how to keep all that put together and where to find it and what it means is a huge deal. So that's been a big help.
Really appreciate that. Jeff, anything before we let Ben go and probably have dinner?
Nothing to add.
Okay, well, Ben, unless there's some last words you'd like to share, we will let you head off since you were a couple hours ahead of us.
I'd just like to say I appreciate y'all giving me the time to kind of talk with you and present the audit, and we look forward to a future of clean audits just like the last few years. So I think the staff is doing a great job, and that's the reason why we're seeing this. So keep up the good work. It makes our job so much easier when we don't have any findings. I mean, those findings, you have to be like, okay, here we go. All right, we got to draw them up. We got to go find the exact regulation and all the stuff. But I mean, really, the housing authority has been doing a tremendous job. So thank you.
Right. Again, thank you so much, Ben.
Okay.
See you next year, or actually later this year. It seems like it never ends.
Yeah, I'm no kidding. All right, you all have a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
Take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
Right. It's really been great having the same auditor and auditor for a period of time, particularly during the RAD transition.
So all you
Okay.
need to do is just receive and file. There's no,
Okay.
just say receive and file, and we take care of the, providing the information to HUD on their system, so.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Receive and file.
Is that a motion?
You just said that. All we have to do is receive and file. I'm like, oh, then why are we making a motion?
Second.
Yeah,
Receive and file.
it is a motion to
Make
receive
a
and
motion to
file.
receive and file. September 30th, 2023 audit.
Okay, second.
Right, self already. So I think we have a motion from Jim,
Okay.
the second by Selpa before Barbara, Selpa, to receive and file the audit as presented. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sprogna,
Yes.
Commissioner Simonson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schulkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Salcedo,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller. Oh, you say? Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I have
Vice Chair White,
Yes.
Chair Pulaski.
Yes. Thank you very much. We move on to 4.02, with Joe still sitting at the
Yep.
table. Mid-year budget review.
No
So here,
fancy video on this one. This is
Oh.
only mid-year.
the 2023.
I know.
2024.
I like the video. Made it fun.
Okay, Joe, you're
It's
on.
only mid-year.
Well, then we'll be looking forward to the video in 6 months.
You're putting pressure on me.
I'm sorry.
I'm already coming up with ideas. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Okay.
Better be good, sweetheart. Better be good.
Pressure, no. Maybe I'll do it Martin Scorsese type.
Something
I don't
like
know.
that.
Black and white, I don't
Oh,
know.
that's nice.
The item before you is the mid-year budget review for the FY 23-24 budget. This is numbers as of March 31st, 2024, which is the 6-month period of the budget. And I like to say that we're in extremely good shape. Thank you and good night. No, I'll go on. It'll be, you'll see how everything is. It may look funny, but when I explain a couple of line items, we're in great shape. This is just we're gonna review. There's items that weren't really thought about when we adopted the budget back in August, or it was brewing, okay, but no formal action was taken at the time. And the act, and what you're gonna be really looking at, the changes really don't impact the housing authority. It's gonna impact the LPs. But I wanna make you aware of those changes, of the additions to personnel that we're making. There's only really one position that we're adding that will have a direct impact to the housing authority budget for FY '24. And what I'll show you shows you the main effect of it, but it gets reduced as time goes by. So I'll just go on to the first one. This
is good timing because I think where Jim was kind of going is, we're in a little bit of uncertainty with the higher interest rates staying for a little bit longer than what we thought, and all those things can.
It impacts, right, but I don't want to sound like kind of crass saying, well, it's really the LP's worry, but it's something that we're the mothership.
Right.
And so, we need to be concerned about those kind of items. The first item you'll see here is an actual versus a budgeted revenue, okay? And I guess the pointer is out. Oh, no, it's still, well, you can't really see, okay. Anything with a negative means that we aren't on the budget on the route that we're taking. Or excuse me, we're under what we said we're gonna be, okay?
It's good.
So in AMP 1, it's mainly because it's I couldn't say it's a dying AMP, but it's slowly going away. I mean, in the next budget, it's almost gonna be, we still have a placeholder in there when you look at the budget. But it's slowly going away. So this is one item I'm not concerned about that we're under. COCC, this is more of what I call a technical deficit, a technical adjustment, because we make our for COCC, and we're going to change this. We make our transfers in at the end of the fiscal year. So this negative reflects the transfers in that didn't happen. So that's why we're short on revenues. And the other one, community services, they're grant driven, so they haven't received the grants that they were anticipating to come in. But the one that you'll see, you say, wait a second.
Does that mean the grants are gonna be coming in later on?
Yeah, I always made a pledge from when I came here, I was gonna work on community services, fix it, right the ship, and we have. I mean, when I first came here, community services was really, the finances were really
challenging. This.
Yeah. And so we righted the ship with Stephanie's help. The one thing I want to point out is on the HAP, you'll see we got more money in HAP. Well, it's because we were short on HAP. And that's because when Westview 3 was considered as a component of when they when HCV Section 8 presents the budget, they were short on wasn't really considering Westview 3 in it. So that's the difference why it's 927 left. So anything in a negative means that they spent, anything in a positive, they spent more. Right. So we got more money than we anticipated, but we spent more. So it's just it's a yin and a yang on this one. So that, we put it in there because we want to be full disclosure about how the budget is, but that's really an item that it's that one item's like more self-sufficient, it always balances out.
So in this case, the increase in revenues is a little overstated because of that. additional
And an
half.
increase in
Where the
expenses,
Increase in the
So
expenditures
kind
is
of
also
balances.
overstated.
right. Now, once again, remember, this is from the budget to what it is on March 31st. So in the expenditures, you see, everybody's under budget. And what's over is really minimal. If in the whole scheme of things. Outside of that last line item. Okay, but if you really look at it, I mean, I have to commend the staff here looking after, making sure expenses are tighter. And this is even considering, like, we've added new features to our just our everyday work life. We have new software, especially for managers, called Perform Yard, where we could evaluate our employees. We didn't have that before. And we have to thank Laura for introducing that, Laura Hernandez, our HR director, for introducing those kind of things. And also, there's been staff members who've gotten promoted. But everything's been kind of offset because we've been watching what we spend overall. So that's always a good thing. Yes.
I have a question, just a quick one. So if this is the 2024 budget
Right.
and we're already there and it's been like 6 months, does that mean we're already at the totals halfway through, or do
No.
we break it down?
No,
forward?
there's gonna be another chart that breaks what we got left in the budget.
Okay,
But we tend, as I explained to Jeff, was I wait to do a projection of how we're gonna end when we adopt the budget. Okay, because at 6 months, it's still too early to say,
This is expenditures and revenue as of the same.
as of the same
During
period
the
of
year.
time.
okay,
It's not looking at.
Right.
Compared to the full year budget.
so it's not the full,
It's not the full year.
Yes.
okay.
There's a slide coming up that'll show you. Well, this is net income. We're actually, the slide's coming up.
It's, yeah, I'll watch
Um,
out for it.
In the budget, we were supposed to have been at a deficit at the 6 month point. At the 6 month point now, we're at a positive. Which is good. So it's a complete turnaround. We were supposed to be 100 close, let's say we were supposed to be 200 million over budget,
200,000.
200,000. I'm getting
Getting
underpaid if it's 200 million. There's a budget with 200 million. No, just kidding. 200,000 above, now we're 200,000 below. We've that's a good change. That's a $400,000 change.
Yeah.
Now, this is what you're asking.
Okay.
Okay. What I'm showing is what we have year to date in the budget. There's two. There's revenues and expenditures, okay? So I have a year to date in the budget wise, what we were supposed to receive and spend. And that second column is what's left in the budget. Okay? As I mentioned, because this is only 6 months, it's, if I was that smart, I'd go to Vegas and, bet on the roulette wheel if I knew what numbers were gonna come up. 6 months is too early to make a projection. When I come back with the budget, that's when I come in and say, okay, we're at this point in August. We're gonna end the year. This is how we're gonna end the year. This is just looking at what's happened so far, or what was planned so far and what's left. Okay?
And I think it was all the numbers, there's just so many.
It's confusing. I try to keep it the KISS method.
The kid, what is that?
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm here for that.
Well, I mean, you could say it, Jim's way, keep that way, or you could say, keep it short and simple.
Okay,
you know.
that's much nicer.
So I like the KISS method on these kind of things.
Okay.
Now, I mentioned that we're gonna be adding positions that weren't originally contemplated back in August, okay? And this list is showing you what positions we plan to add within this fiscal year. Majority of them is all for the LPs. So in the first one, the property manager in Buenaventura. Currently, we have a property manager that's split between two properties. Johnson Gardens, Buenaventura. Well, the workload is starting to become heavy for that one property manager, so we're splitting up and establishing a separate property manager for Buenaventura. Once again, if that's an LP budget concern, but as board members of the mothership, you should know. The Westview 2, that was, now I think they're close to hiring, right? At least
What, a property manager? No,
Yeah.
we have.
He's working.
Well,
Yeah.
well, once again, this wasn't in the budget one week. Thank you. Same thing that we have a number of them on Valentine Road. Those are items that were, it was all thought about, but now it's actually gonna happen.
I would say this, so all the Valentine Road ones, we knew because we had identified positions when we sought the funding. We didn't put it in the budget because we didn't know when we were gonna need them. Now we're adding them to the budget because we know we're gearing up to fill them.
The numbers will go up.
Yeah.
And the only one that really has a direct impact is the community services coordinator. Now, the number I show there, that's the full impact. That number, that's for an entire year. So this is if we had hired a person back on October 1. That's not the case. The person will eventually get hired.
Person was hired.
No.
Yeah. So that number is cut in half.
We can't see.
Whoever.
We hired, new to the agency, Melissa,
Yeah.
and comes with great experience, and she's hit the ground running, but this is an obligation of the housing authority to pay her. Because we believe we needed more support for community services, and so we added a position, filled it, but now we're reflecting it in the budget.
And it's actually, go ahead, Stephanie.
I just want to say, I beg your pardon, I said March, but it's actually May, that she came to the board. I wanted to correct myself.
So what you adopted back in October is a set, how the number of employees you agreed upon. By the action by the resolution today, you're acknowledging an employee to be added to the house. So in this case, this, once again, it reflects a full year. But we have the adopted expenditures, we're just making the correction or the addition to community services, so the resolution before you, 2408, acknowledges those kind of changes. It acknowledges the changes that we have made to employees under the housing authority umbrella that have either been promoted or received increases that were outside of the step increase. So that's at that's what 2408 addresses.
And just a preview on when we actually bring the budget for next year to you, we're gonna really be clear about, these are existing funded positions. If there's any we want to add, you'll know what position we're adding to the budget and what funding source they're coming from. So we can keep track of our staffing and understand what the changes are from year to year.
So with the maintenance situation.
The
Fred
maintenance,
leaving and we're adding more people.
right.
Are we adding more people in maintenance?
If we add someone to maintenance their property, it's
They're not-
property specific,
They're not housing
whereas
authority, generally they're attached to the property. And yes, Fred is leaving. Literally, he resigned a week ago, I think. So
Yeah,
we're trying to
this
figure
was
out what
before.
that will look like.
Yeah.
I got this ready before I found out that Fred was leaving.
Yeah.
But in Fred's case, he only has a very small portion within the housing authority. Budget. So if they decide to replace Fred with Fred 2.0, it's just basically a swap. We're not adding someone.
I
We're just
don't know.
replacing
In case you didn't
someone.
hear what Lenny said, he's irreplaceable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this was
And please let them know that the board thinks that is.
Yeah.
this was the projected surplus in the original budget, 260. Now, once again, that's how it is in the original budget. The numbers are gonna change come August when I do that projection. And this is how it shows with the added employee to community services, but once again, at the full year. That number, though, that number will increase, that surplus, net income will increase based on the proportion of the salary being impacted on over the year. So it's not, I put it in as a year impact, but in theory, it should be, it's half of that. So you're looking at a $200,000 projected net income surplus. Once again, you gotta remember, we're government, so we don't work as a profit, you know. But we want to end positively. We do. And that was the final thing. Now, is there any questions? Yeah, no slides, no goodbye, no, that's all folks. Nothing.
Music or nothing?
Nothing, I'm sorry. I mean, the only thing I did was that flashy 1969 Jimi Hendrix type of lava lamp. Open.
It was still good, so you did a good job.
Any questions?
Commissioners, questions for Joe on that?
It's just a curiosity question. You showed us what the budget projection is with the addition of the new community services coordinator.
Right.
And in the budget, you're going to tell us where the funding, is that coming from COCC or is that part of the?
What happens on that one? It's strictly from, it's a COCC obligation.
Okay.
It falls under the community services budget.
And it's COC funded.
Which
it's
is-
not attached to property.
So my question was, coming from government as well, when I do my budgets, I have salaries and benefits is one line item. All of the other allocated expenses are a
Right.
whole bunch
Yeah,
of
and there are
other stuff.
employees like that. They get allocated throughout.
You mean all the employee benefits?
Everything that comes with hiring somebody,
Yeah.
including their chair, their
Oh, yeah.
IT,
Yeah.
data.
No, I factored,
phone,
that
insurance.
number factors in, salary and benefits.
The
Okay?
number that you presented here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Salary and benefits only though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't include their chair.
But they're just basically, there's gonna be, there may be a need for a laptop.
If I may?
Yeah.
Sorry, we actually allocated to the property. For example, for AMP1, if the property manager needs a chair, then he gets the property pays out of the budget, their budget. Not, so this is, like Joe said, this is only salary and benefits.
And just for people that are completely confused about what we're talking about. The reason we're talking about AMP1 being on life support is that's part of the repositioning that we were talking
Right.
about with Ben, the auditor, where everything
That's
used
right.
to be the old public housing and now moving development by development out of
Yeah.
what are the AMPs, which was
Yep.
public housing,
Yep.
into limited partnerships.
Yeah, we're down to like two hundred and twenty-one PH
Right.
units, and it's gonna decrease.
Right.
And I don't know if I should say this right now, because as I'm listening to Joe talking about AMP1 and the numbers and all that, development and I have been talking about, those will be removed from the public housing inventory soon. For two of them. Except two of the, we have 29 units sitting in AMP1, so except two of those, they will no longer be public housing. We're in the process, we're talking to HUD specialist and see how that is gonna take place. It's gonna take place sooner than later, like real soon. So the numbers that he just presented at the end of the year will be totally probably in red.
Well, that's what I wanted to mention, is this is all part of the repositioning. It's not a declination of the number of units that we have. We've actually increased units, but
Exactly.
just in a different way.
And it had to do with the RAD conversion with the old 3 phases in Westview or 4 phases.
Right.
Yes.
Francisco.
Then also during the, if it's if a property's already in operation, for example, like right now when we're budgeting for 2025. We will already put into consideration if there is gonna be a potential new employee, we'll put it in our budget under, for example, computer parts. So he'll do the salary and benefits, I'll do the computer parts with whoever the director or, and when it's in construction, then we work with development to make sure we include it in the one-time costs for the.
Thank you.
But in terms of like salary and benefits, I've always been factoring like 30% for benefits, which is it's over. The standard's like usually 25, but I like to put it 30, because of those kind of situations, you know, the person needs a pad and pen, you know.
Well, I didn't mean to be understated. You know, expenses are expenses. And when I say chair, I was talking about the FTE position.
Yeah.
Itself. I wasn't
Right.
talking about a literal chair for a second.
No, I understood.
understand.
There's incidental costs, yeah.
Not even incidental, it's
Yeah.
operational. They need a.
But that's kind of built into
Yeah,
that
okay.
30%.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
Get a standard.
because there's also this thing called unfunded pension liability, that's kind of built into it too, so CalPERS. and all that.
Yeah.
But that's it.
We have a BYOC set up. You're on chair.
Yeah, that's right, everybody has a name behind them.
Should be standing more in.
Commissioners, anything else? This has been, the first half of the meeting is budget.
Yeah.
But which is actually very, very important though, that we keep on track, not just last year's, but how we're doing this year. So we really appreciate the mid-year presentation. Before we move on, I don't think this is an action item, or is it?
Oh, no, it is, you need to
Yeah,
adopt
that's-
2408 to reflect the
the
changes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I should have read a little bit further. Okay, any further questions? I will entertain a motion if not.
I'll make a motion to approve the mid-year budget review of fiscal year 2023-24 and approval of resolution number 2408, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of San Buenaventura authorizing the restatement to the fiscal year 23-24 operating budget.
Second.
Thank you. That was so much easier, so thank you for taking on the first. Kate is the maker of the motion, Selfa is the second. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Thank you again, Joe, you and your team for the mid-year. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brogdon,
Yes.
Commissioner Simonson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schulkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Salcedo.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes, Keller.
Keller.
Oh. I don't know who that is. Keller, sorry. Vice Chair White. Here. Chair Pulaski.
Yes,
Sorry about that.
okay. 4.03. This is receiving the development status report. Karen, you're on.
And just as an introduction, I know Karen usually walks through the projects.
Yes.
I asked her today really to focus on Valentine Road because we have a little bit more of a significant update on Valentine Road that we want to update you.
Okay,
That's your Karen.
thank you.
Okay, so you've been hearing all the good news about how well the Housing Authority is doing. Well, now I have the more difficult news, and, you know, some good news and some more difficult news. So, Valentine Road, I forget exactly where we're at the last board meeting, but we had submitted a 9% tax credit application. And we found that it was basically not accurate. So we're not going to get that application. So when we figured that out, we did a pivot to submit an application for 4% tax credits. We had about 2 weeks to completely reconfigure the project. And we were able to at the last board meeting, you approved the Faircloth to Rads. We're able to get a commitment for 18 Faircloth to Rad vouchers that helps the project along. We submitted an application that's very financially feasible that would have covered all of our costs for the project, including we've had increases in our projected construction costs. So, but recently, a couple days ago, we got the analysis of the applications that were submitted in terms of what it looks like is going to be funded. Our financial partner, CHPC, California Housing Partnerships, does a sort, and it doesn't look like we'll be funded. There's the 4% process is, they're both very competitive, but the competition is very different. So now we're pivoting again to submit another 9% application, which is due in
July 12th.
July 12th or
So
something like that.
July 2nd, sorry.
July 2nd. We think this will be a very strong application in terms of competitiveness. Because again, it's different competitiveness than 9%, than 4%. But we would be short a significant amount of funding, depending on exactly what our construction costs are, 10 to 12 million. So we are looking at what we can do to make up that gap. In addition to what we would achieve through the tax credits. And that financing, we have a couple of sources that we're looking at. We do have now, just big picture, we got the home key funding, we got significant funding from the city. We have significant funding from the county, $5.5 million grant. And some other funding that's in there. The county additionally committed a $5 million construction loan. It's possible that could convert to permanent financing. Although, that would mean a big chunk from the county. I don't think they're there yet. We're also working with the city. The city is going to submit an application for encampment funding. This is to help work with folks who are currently living in encampments, in homeless encampments, to get out of that situation. And part of what's important for those applications is having a permanent funding housing location.
Right, permanent
And
supportive house.
So permanent supportive housing. So we're looking to include some funding for Valentine Road in that application. And sort of as an aside, in addition, when we acquired Valentine Road, we also acquired an additional separate parcel. And we're looking at doing another project, small project on that site. And we're also looking at a source that's kind of new, that we've never worked with before. The federal EPA has community change grants that you can apply for up to $20 million. So we're putting together an application for that. So we have a couple of sources that could fill that gap, but we're not there yet. The good news is we do have funding to, a number of good news. We basically have the permits approved for our first phase, which would be the redevelopment of the site improvements and building C and D. Building C has 41 units, building D has 24 units. And we have funding enough to do building C. So we are moving towards getting into a construction contract with McCarthy Construction, who we've been working with in pre-development, effective about beginning of June, and being able to complete that first building by the end of the year. Sort of meanwhile, we're going to be leasing up about 40 units in building B, which has 48 units, and we can basically move people in pretty much as is, and we'll be working to move folks who are currently in room key, where they've been, through county funding, housed temporarily in hotels, and that program is terminating. So we'll be able to move about 40 of those folks in, and then ultimately, when building C is finished and all up to HQS housing quality standards, we have moved those folks over to building C. So we have a great contractor that we're working with. They've been really great. Our architect and all our consultants have been doing a great job, and we're moving forward, and we're optimistic that we will get all the funding eventually. So that's kind of a summary of where we're at with Valentine Road.
Councilman Jim Duran, do you have any questions?
I don't.
I will say this, I think Karen said it, but I know when we approved the contract funding for McCarthy, there were questions about whether we picked the right contractor. We have absolutely picked the right architect. Contractor and architect. They have been very nimble and trying to figure out, is it phase 1 and phase 2, or is it phase 1A and 1B and 2A and 2B? And how do we contract with multiple phases that might change with uncertain funding sources? They've been great partners through this whole thing. We have a long way to go, but they've been very nimble in helping us get there. Mark Pacheco, architect, as well, basically done the same thing. We have really good support. It's not the best place we don't want to be in this place right now, but we will do our best to make sure we have the funding in place to build this whole thing out. But we're definitely going to start with the first phase as early as June with on-site construction.
One value add that they do is the value engineering.
Yes, correct. Yes.
I just had a question for Karen. The home key project that's closing up, is that the one in Ventura?
Yeah.
And so there's only 40 people living there right now?
What, no, there's more people living there. Oh my gosh. I
We're told
forget
there's
the
like
numbers.
72 households there.
Okay,
I think, but they're not all coming to us.
yeah, so we're getting about 40,
Yes,
and will they be coming into that first phase?
they would be coming into actually one of the existing buildings. And then when the first phase is finished, they would move into that building.
But they'll move into basically hotel rooms in building B without us doing a big renovation of the building. We're looking at July into early August, that move will happen before the roof key project closes down on Thompson.
And then the money that we're requesting for the river bottom, that money, how many, if we got funded for that, is there a certain number of people?
So we're committing to 15 of our units in Valentine Road, and then we're also committing to develop an additional project on that vacant site that would house 30 people. And so we're going big, we're asking for a lot of money for both projects, and there's other things, that are included in the application about working with the folks in the encampment, and that's all kind of the city piece, and getting people ready for permanent housing.
Okay,
Karen, did I hear you say 30 households on a vacant lot?
Well, we have a vacant lot,
Right,
it's
we-
about half
okay.
an acre where we would develop an additional 30 units of housing.
Is that the plan? That
Yeah.
was oh, I must have missed that. I didn't know we had a plan for the vacant lot.
Well, we haven't really talked about it.
Oh, okay.
It's evolving.
It's evolving.
Okay.
But we, just to build on that a little bit, because we wanted, the city had submitted an encampment proposal before, but because they didn't have a path to permanent housing, it wasn't successful. So we're working with the housing group to basically provide that path. And so it's 15 units in Valentine Road, and then it's looking at, we got our architect to develop just a conceptual site plan for 30 one-bedroom apartments on this vacant land that we own adjacent to Valentine Road, and put together a pro forma that would be competitive for 9% tax credits, with the money that potentially could be obtained through this encampment proposal. It's it's kind of a long shot. There is still money left. And we think, with this path to permanent housing, that it will be competitive. So, but it's not a sure thing.
having that pathway to permanent supportive housing is the make or break with that resolution, because of my day job up in Santa Barbara County, we've been successful in getting that funding. And a lot of it was the housing authority, again, providing the permanent supportive housing is the end game. That's really what the state's looking for.
And I think when the city submitted the first application, we weren't really partnering with them to provide that pathway, and now we.
Right, we had a support
Yeah, we
letter.
wrote a support letter, but we didn't really show.
That's not the same, but
It's not the same.
say we're gonna house people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think it's a stronger application, so.
Mhm.
But I think that the bottom line, we're looking at every opportunity to fill the gap, and so we can continue to deliver the justice.
Well, and that's a win-win, because it also takes care of the ongoing issues that we have, so.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, did you want to quickly
I can quickly
go
review
through
our
the
other projects.
list?
So we're still working on, it's been a bit of a low priority, but we will figure out how to do our 34 for sale homes in Westview 4. Santa Clara Apartments, the rebuild of these apartments. We have DRC, Design Review Committee recommendation for approval. It goes to a director's permit hearing next Thursday. And that should be approved. Unfortunately, the state funding that we were counting on is not going to be available this year because of essentially the state's budget problems. But we will figure out how to finance that also. The West Side Street improvements, which are part of our Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities funding, that it's basically street and sidewalk improvements on the west side. We are under contract. We're just waiting to get our, also with McCarthy, to get our traffic control plans in place and be able to start that work. And Chapel Lane, the renovation here is, we have signed a contract to do this work also with McCarthy. We are looking to start the construction about June 1st, and there will be temporary relocation of all the residents. Actually, some are permanently relocating, but we have a great relocation consultant who's helping us to find good temporary relocation for folks. And that's moving ahead.
I would say, so 5 of those residents are permanently moving to Westview.
Correct.
2, and so 7, I think, are moving to permanent locations for
Yeah.
housing and other ones, other of our properties.
Great.
Some are living with family and the rest will provide temporary housing for.
And so we've got our relocation consultants found Airbnbs basically that will be really nice on temporary relocation for folks. And we're in the process of getting those committed.
And I would say, not going to belabor, but this is a group of seniors who this disruption is pretty anxiety ridden for them. So we're spending a lot of time with our case management team and we are investing, making sure that they have handheld in that process, because it's been quite traumatic for those residents to consider moving for a few weeks or a few months.
Yeah.
So,
Westview 2, you've kind of heard about. It's, it's so great to see all the fences. I mean, ever since I've been here for the last whatever years, there's been construction fencing up and now there's not. So it's so great to see Westview, and everyone who sees it is Westview 2 is so impressed with it.
Karen, I wonder if you could, if you wouldn't mind just letting Letty talk for a minute about the lease up at Westview 3, because that's a huge success.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Karen. No, that's fine. I'm okay here.
No, come on.
Oh, Letty, we don't fight.
And
And while she's coming
No,
up
I'm
to the
standing,
table,
I'm standing
let me just remind us all that this the challenges we're having with Valentine Road, we were having with Westview. And I remember 6 years ago, these conversations of finding the money for the phases. And if you recall, that's how we ended up finishing 3 before 2. So, it's all about patience and persistence.
It's not just that we can't count.
Exactly.
As of today, which is May 15th, we started leasing up on May 1st, maybe April 29th. It's been a long time now, but we have leased up 40. I'm trying to get, last time, that was last week on Thursday, we had leased up 42 units of the 49.
That's great.
So I think we might be at 44, but I'm double checking that. But we only have 7 more to go. And maybe 2, 3 out of those 7, we have to put them on hold because we're waiting on some residents from AMP1, Barnett Street, because we have to hold them. We have to hold them because they need to make a decision and see if they're going to want to move to Westview 2. It has been challenging with those residents because they really didn't think it was going to happen. It's here, and now their options are very limited. So I just found out today that one of them might be over income now. So back to the.
Time for a big donation to the housing.
But anyway, but the good news is 42 out of the 49.
That's great.
And in less than a month.
And I'll pile on even more. I think the first day of movement, we had, I think 15 households moving in the first
15.
day.
Mhm.
7 in the morning and 7 in the afternoon or something like that. It was just an incredible amount of move-ins and being in the building and seeing, adult sons, moving in furniture for their mother. And very excited about the space. And I came in here one day when the eligibility team, the lease-up team was organizing all the keys before the move-in meet. And you can name any resident that's moving in and they can tell you their life story. They know the residents, that the lease-up process is a this is my first time going through the lease-up process, and it's a very personal process. Our staff, by the time these residents move in, we know them. And having the manager of that property, Lupita, came from eligibility. And she was part of the move-in process, and now she's the on-site property manager, so she knows her residents probably better than almost all of our other property managers, because she was there from the very beginning, so it's a really positive story.
I mean, from the beginning until the lease up date, it's a process. There's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of meetings that they have with the applicants. Not only them, also the section inside, because I want to give credit to them.
Yeah.
Also that they do a lot of the, sometimes holding hands with the applicants because they don't know the process. So we have to sit down and we have to spend, sometimes up to 2 hours walking them through the process. So it's very, time consuming, but at the end of the day, and this is not only me saying it, but the eligibility, because they have shared this, is when they hand those keys to those applicants, when there are residents now, it's a good feeling, and I've been there, so I know what they mean by that. So that's just something that you just can't, I don't know how to explain it, you just feel it. So we'll continue to do a lease up and meet the 95%. Before the 3 months. We usually get 3 months, but now it's.
But you're ahead of
we're
schedule.
we're
You're ahead of schedule. Very exciting.
On another note, in Westview
You
too,
want to end on that note?
yes,
Okay.
because it's a new building. There have been some break-ins into the building.
Geez.
Some youngsters, they decide that they just go in but Lupita, she's a very young, property manager, no fear. She approached them. They were in one of the units. She opens the unit and she goes in and tells them, get out of here. So, we're grateful for that, but we guided her to do the right thing, which is called 911 when that happens.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So that's, like I said, she's young, so there's a lot of training to do, but she's doing a great job. But she's working with the police department along with Alejandra Garcia,
Good.
her supervisor. We're reaching out to the police department to see how they could.
Do we know who those folks are?
Yes, we know.
Okay. Yeah, because,
We have cameras.
yeah, well, that's what
Sometimes it's hard.
I thought, and the thing is that, I mean, word gets around if there's no
A place to go.
repercussions.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're reaching out to, they arrested a couple of them, but they're back. So, now we're waiting to come up with a plan. I know, I talked to Jeff about it, maybe a security guard, for the weekends. So we're trying to get an estimate and see how much it'll cost. So we're looking at different, options and see what will be the best one. So.
And it might only be necessary for the first few months.
Yeah.
So again, you kind of set a standard for,
Mhm. No, but she's doing a great job and it will stop.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Sounds like we have the right person, but yes, dialing 911 is much better than
Yeah.
trying to take care of it
Yeah.
once, so.
So she's young, so she'll get there.
And the thing is, because I'm waiting here again at the grand opening date, the great thing is if we have, people in and settled. That'd be important, because I think grand openings, ribbon cuttings, when you have residents in, they're usually, some are really proud, they really want to show off the unit that they've personalized, and it just makes it a lot more meaningful when you're able to meet with the residents in their new home.
That's so important.
So, yeah, and so we also have Public Works approval on Westview 2, so we'll be, which is very fast, faster than we normally get it. We'll be able to go and get our bonds released at City Council hopefully fairly soon, also for Westview 3, and collect all of our final equity for our remaining projects. Any other questions?
No, it really did come out with these, it's spectacular, both inside and out. Really well designed, really good job. It's good. Right.
Thank you.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Move to accept the development status report.
Right, I need something to read.
Lisa, you can take the easy one. We have a first.
Oh, second.
Okay. Salva is the maker of the motion. Kate is the second. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sparga,
Yes.
Commissioner Simonson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schulkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Salcedo.
Yes.
Now I'm like nervous, Commissioner Keller.
Yes.
Vice Chair White.
Yes.
Chair Pulaski.
Yes. And thank you, Karen. Okay, 4.04, board self-assessment.
So I asked, Francisco just to pull it up, we're not gonna go through it today. But I was talking to John about the value of having the board members individually assess their role on the board, their feeling about how the board operates, their feeling about how the staff supports the board. I think this is critical for us to know how it's going for you. So this is your chance to sort of tell us how you're feeling about your service on the board. And so it's a pretty simple form, score yourself, very familiar, not so familiar, and I would encourage you to add comments. We will make sure you have this electronically. If you want a hard copy and fill it out that way, that's fine too. I think we've asked for you to fill this out in the next 2 weeks. So that we can tabulate the results and report the results back to you at your June meeting. So I think this is a good habit to get into, so that the board has an opportunity individually to see how you're feeling as a board member, and whether we're serving you in a way that allows you to have a satisfactory experience, and hopefully an outstanding experience on the board. But it's a chance for us to do a check-in. So I think that it's helpful. I encourage you to be as honest as possible, because that's helpful for all of us, and don't hold back if you have criticisms or comments or things that you think we could do better on, because that's what we want to do with this process. So that was all I wanted to present to you today. We will follow up to make sure you have it electronically. If you want it in a hard copy, let Kristen know, and we will get it to you a hard copy as well. But hopefully you can fill it electronically, but either way works for us.
Yeah, but Jeff, you've already spoken about, just for example, the possibility, with IT to see if we could occasionally have our meetings in other places.
Oh.
For example, just to familiarize the, members with places, for example. I mean, that was already kind of.
Yeah.
I forget when we talked about, you spoke about it, but I remember thinking, yeah, that's a great, yes, definitely, whatever.
Right. I think
When
we're free to make that comment so we can capture it.
Yeah, but I just remember that and
Yeah.
thinking that's, even at the museum, we said, just to do something out of the box kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was,
Whereas new
Whenever.
properties, like, have some,
Yeah.
at Westview too, even.
yeah, that's what we're talking about,
But at the ponds.
whatever,
That'd be great. I think that'd be on the east end.
yeah.
Yeah.
I forget when that conversation was, but it was fairly recent,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's good.
So
And it's the other thing, is recognition, the time that we really value, the time and interest that commissioners have. Because again, everybody's really, really busy, and there's all kinds of things, but we really do appreciate the time that you spend.
Right.
And really, so thank you for doing that.
Sure, absolutely. And no action, just want to make sure you know that's on your to-do list going forward, so I appreciate it.
It's not spam.
No. No, it's not spam. So make sure you check your housing authority email.
Okay.
Thank you for the reminder. Okay, we move on to item number 5, the information items, 5.01, annual plan overview and summary of HUD changes, the HATMA, SACMA, and Inspire.
Yes, very exciting topics. I'll ask Ricardo to give an overview. This is not.
More acronyms.
This is not for action either. It's really just a preview of what's coming. This will come back to you in a formal way later. So I'll turn it over to Ricardo.
Thank you. Good evening now. It's already 7:00. Thank you for giving me the space. Usually you get to hear from me in June. And it's okay if you say, am I okay saying the back? No, usually I come in June. Okay.
Now I know there are people behind it.
That question was directed to the state commissioner, but.
I figured as much.
Usually I come in June. I give an overview of the agency's annual plan, any of the changes that we're proposing to incorporate via our annual plan. We have a discussion and then, we make a recommendation to the board and the board decides to approve our annual plan or not. This year, there's a lot of stuff happening in the HUD world. And we thought it would be a good idea to come to the board this month to kind of give an overview of what some of the staff has been working on. And I want to give kudos to the Section 8 department, let these property managers, because they've been doing a lot of work trying to understand and incorporate the changes that HUD is implementing. It's been a lot. Just to name a few, we're going to talk about HATMA, small area fair market rents. We're going to talk about Inspire. But in addition to that, HUD is incorporating a new software. We use a system called a PIC system. So now they're doing a HIP system. And don't ask me to tell you what all these acronyms stand for because I'm a little tired right now. But there's a lot of changes that are happening and the staff is working at a really fast pace to try to keep up with some of these changes. So kudos to Letty's team, Diana's team. I'm not sure I hear about Martinez online. So thank you for your work and your collaboration to making sure that we have a successful implementation of these new rules. So what is our annual plan? The purpose of the plan is to provide a strategic planning framework for the housing authority for its management operations and capital planning. It is a requirement that us as a public housing authority, we submit an annual plan each year. And then every 5 years, we have to submit a 5-year plan. So we're lucky enough to have to submit a 5-year at the beginning of next year. So we posted our annual plan on April 22nd, open to the public. We have a hearing scheduled on the 6th of June, and it's going to come to your board meeting in June. So that is, in a nutshell, what our annual plan is. So what's happening in the HUD world? We have Inspire, the national standards for the physical inspection of real estate. We have HATMA, Housing Opportunity Through Modernization Act, aka HATMA, the final rule. We have Violence Against Women Act, VAWA. We have small area fair market rents, and we have additional PHA actions that we're including or proposing in our annual plan. Quiz time, what does SAMFMR stand for? Okay.
Small area fair market rents.
I'm kidding. So what is Inspire? So for a really long time, HUD has 2 systems to manage its inspections, right? On the public housing side, we have what we call the REACT. And on the HCD side, we have what's called HQS, or Housing Quality Standards. Well, HUD said, you know what? It's time to update the way we do things because we're trying to keep up with technology and the time. So we're going to implement Inspire, a national standard for the physical inspection of real estate. So we have Inspire now. A main component with Inspire is that HUD's doing a shift. They're focusing on, instead of the appearance of the property or the physical condition of the property, they're doing a priority in the health and safety of the residents. So that's a major key component to Inspire that HUD is implementing and introduces various things. If anybody wants a copy of the Inspire guidelines, there's 300 pages. I'll send that to you very happily. But they're incorporating what are life-threatening deficiencies, severe deficiencies, moderate deficiencies, or low deficiencies. What's important to understand is in the past, the housing authority had the ability to identify what we identified as a life-threatening deficiency. So that means that before a unit gets leased, if there was a deficiency that we identified was a life-threatening, then that unit couldn't get leased up or wouldn't pass inspection. Well, HUD said, you know what? We're a little bit smarter than you housing authorities, and we're gonna create our own list of life-threatening deficiencies. So now HUD is implementing a list of what they identify life-threatening deficiencies. that whenever there's a finding that there's a unit with a life-threatening deficiency, it cannot pass inspection and it has to be identified, it has to be addressed within 24 hours.
You have this list?
I do. It mostly, this has minimal impact on our residents. I say that because this is really more for our landlords.
Yeah.
This is really more for, property management companies, like those who have project-based vouchers. And I know our staff is working diligently to try to inform the landlords of the new changes that are coming. I know Diane sent out a letter to the landlords notifying them of this change last year. There's a big landlord meeting happening sometime next month to kind of go over some of the proposed changes. What's important, why this is important in our annual plan is because our administrative plan and our ACOP addresses HQS almost every other sentence. So you're gonna see a lot of track changes where we're changing our wordage from HQS to Inspire. Okay, any questions about Inspire? I hope everyone's an expert right now. HOTMA, Housing Opportunity Through Modernization Act. So was it last year? Was it last year, the year before? I'm sorry, I lost my dates, but HUD issued its HOTMA final rule. Originally, HOTMA was introduced in 2016, where HUD made some changes to the regulatory components of the programs that we manage. Well, it issued a final rule that makes amendments to 3 different sections in the code. The 3 sections are section 102, section 103, and section 104. The goal of section 102 is to address the way we calculate income. So the HOTMA's goal is to reduce administrative burdens in various income determination categories. They're making changes to the way we do interims, the way we do reexaminations. Section 103 addresses over income families. As some of you may remember, last year we talked about section 103 when we put the cap for public housing families. And then section 104, it addresses asset limits. One of the new components to the Section 8 program and the public housing program is now there's a cap, right? If a new applicant comes in and they have assets over 100,000, they're not eligible for the program, right? In addition to that is if somebody has an ownership in any property and that property is habitable, they're not eligible for any of our programs. What have we done as an agency so far? Last year, we adopted the over income policy for our public housing families. We're preparing to roll out most of our HOTMA updates effective 1/1/2025. And there's a note there that says that we're aligning this with our new fiscal year.
Yeah.
So originally, our plan was to make all this effective 10/1/2024, which is in line with our current fiscal year. There was we utilized the change in fiscal year that the board approved last year, right, Joe? To give ourselves 3 more months to implement HOTMA. So why did we do this? One, because HUD issued HOTMA's final rule last week on the 10th of May, I believe, 10th of May. So there's still some things that are pending that HUD wasn't clear on, that they just issued a 400-page notice, but hopefully clarify things for us. That's 1. 2, our software vendors are not ready to incorporate HOTMA because there's a lot of requirements or changes to the way we receive information. So our software vendors saying, hey, well, if you have to implement this, we can't do it because our software is not ready because HUD hasn't provided that software information as well. So that's an additional layer of why we chose to extend this. And then 3, and the most important one, just to give the staff a little bit more time to get additional training and to become more familiar with all these changes that HUD is making. We anticipate to be ready to roll things out effective 1/1/2025. And, the expectation is that by then HUD will have given the software vendors all the information they need to make the changes to their system so that when we input information, that information is downloaded in a way that HUD requires it. Is it going to be perfect? No. Is there going to be a lot of learning curves? Yeah. Will HUD allow an extension of HOTMA? No. Maybe. Regardless, we have a responsibility as a public housing authority to be in compliance, and we're preparing to be in compliance effective 1/1/25.
It says here, align with new fiscal year.
Yes.
The new fiscal year we're doing.
Yes, so it.
1/1/25 as opposed to our September, October.
So if
Right.
if the board recalls, they approved a change to the fiscal year to 1/1/2025.
Such a no.
So what are we incorporating in this annual plan? One major component is, earned income disallowance is a change where through HACMA, the earned income disallowance was a program that HUD had created that allowed individuals who weren't working and that started working, an opportunity to not have the rent impacted right away. It's a 2-year program where if you get on what we call the EID program, the first year your income is excluded from your rent. The second year, 50% of your income is excluded from your rent. And then after 2 years, you phase out and you start paying rent regularly. HUD eliminated that program, so we have to eliminate that from our admin plan and our ACOP because it's no longer gonna be an option for our residents. There is a sunset for those families currently still in the program, and we added language on our plans to capture that sunset, which is 1/1/26. Okay. That's HOPMA. So BAWA, small area SMRs. So BAWA updated some of its definitions in 2022, 2023. We incorporated all those changes in the definition last year. But this year, because there's so many changes to our admin plan or ACOP, we actually purchased a model plan through Nan McKay. And Nan McKay had a really sophisticated chapter involved what that mirrored ours. They just organized it a little bit prettier. So what we did, we just went ahead and took that and incorporated it into our plan just because it's easier to read and it has all the updated forms.
What does VAWA stand for?
Violence Against Women Act. So then on top of all this, HUD issued a notice on November 7th of 2023, notifying 41 metropolitan areas that we like you so much, we want you to implement the small area fair market rent. So what does that mean? So currently we use what's called fair market rent. We utilize that number to establish the payment standards for how much a voucher is going to pay per bedroom size. So in 2016, HUD introduced a small area FMR. There's 21 original housing authorities that were required to incorporate it. Apparently, HUD thought that this is very effective. And they added an additional 41 jurisdictions. And guess who was one of those lucky jurisdictions? Ventura County. And what is the reason behind the smart area FMR? It's really to increase choice for voucher holders. So the main difference is that currently the FMRs are countywide, right? So HUD will issue the FMRs usually October 1st, and it says, Oxnard, Ventura, Thousand Oaks, this is your FMR. But now HUD is saying, you know what? This jurisdiction, we want you to go based on zip code because we believe if you go based on zip code, individuals will have a greater choice or higher opportunity to lease in high opportunity areas. So we have to implement the small area FMR effective 10/1/2024. And that change was incorporated into our annual plan. It's going to be included in our annual plan. So what does this mean? It really means for applicants or individuals out on the market with a section voucher looking for a place to live, but they're gonna have a different payment standard based on the zip code that they're trying to lease, right? So if you're on the west end 93001, you have one payment standard versus if you're on the east end 93004, you have a separate payment standard. And just in perspective, these were the FMRs and the small area FMRs fiscal year 24, which these were posted October 1st. So currently, we use FMR, which is the chart on top, and we're looking at the 2-bedroom. That means that FMR rate was 2414, and we had to implement a small area FMR last year. Then if you look at the zip code for a 2-bedroom and 93001 would be 2410, and 93004 would be 2440.
Okay.
So is this, I feel like 93001 is less rent than 93003. Like if you're out there, I feel like the properties on the other side of town are a little more pricey than being.
That's a
right
great
here.
point, but remember HUD's smarter than us.
Oh,
And they know our
that's
community a little bit better than we do.
I forgot.
That's a great point. We had a meeting this morning with other housing authorities who just don't think this is a great idea because, again, HUD doesn't know our communities, right? 93001, they're probably incorporating some of the homes near the beach, that then kind of fluctuates the prices So, there's a way around this, it's just very costly and very expensive. We can do some sort of rent study to demonstrate to HUD why they got this wrong, and that's a conversation we had. But for now, we're preparing to roll out the smart FMRs.
Just on that, Santa Barbara County, both housing authorities get together and UCSB does a payment standard rent survey for us. We've done that for years now, and it actually has paid off. But you need cooperation from some of our sister agencies to do that.
So does this affect the payment that the household will be giving, or does it affect where you're looking, where you can look?
This affects the voucher size, right? So if you have a 2-bedroom, when you lease with your voucher, it says, hey, your rent can go up to.
Oh, that much,
Yeah,
yeah.
remember, all the units still have to go to the rent reasonableness. However, what's important is that the standards for how those numbers get established is gonna change a little bit.
Okay.
Okay,
For
and again,
example,
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, if somebody, let's say if 93003 is low compared to what the actual market is, it's gonna be very, very difficult for any of our voucher holders to lease up there, because it would be a landlord saying, yes, I'm willing to accept less
Right.
than the market would bear in for my building, which,
It's not likely.
yeah, so it really hurts. It lessens, quite frankly, the ability of voucher holders to choose, simply because of the way it's established. Yeah.
Good job.
We're fortunate enough, we don't have, that many zip codes. So it's not, it didn't create that additional burden where you have the county of Ventura who has like 60 zip codes that they have to try to manage, and the individuals have to try to manage. So it's not perfect. I think as the agencies continue discussing it, there might be an opportunity for some sort of calibration, maybe mirror what Santa Barbara does. But I think we're currently, just to be in compliance, we're preparing to roll it out effective at some point. So just some PHA actions, and again, just a brief overview. This stuff is covered in annual plan, and we'll talk about a little bit more in depth next month. But we're committing the project-based units to Buenaventura Road. Last month, we had a conversation about fair cloth to RAD. So we're requesting our fair cloth capacity for Valentine Road, and we're proposing to convert those to RAD. We're exploring the opportunity of applying for foster youth to independent vouchers. We're considering exploring how to proceed with the remaining public housing inventory. Earlier today, we had a conversation about the budget, how ample it's kind of like a lifeline. But at some point, the agency is gonna has to have a strategic conversation of what we're gonna do moving forward. By including these conversations in our annual plan, it gives the agency the flexibility to proceed with actions as we determine what's in the best interest of the agency. That's why it's important to make it accessible and notify the public since the get-go. Obviously, if opportunities come up to increase the PUV cap, we will consider project raising and additional vouchers. If there's an opportunity for the agency to apply for moving to work, that's something that the agency will consider. And there's other actions that we incorporate in our annual plan, kind of like a breakdown of some of the important ones. Any questions?
Questions for Ricardo? Thank you very much for the report. Any questions? For some of you that have attended some of the conferences, some of those are familiar, like the HOPMA final. Along with the small area where you add some because since it's been around for a little while, we do have some of our colleagues that have been experiencing them. It does hurt people, because there are some zip codes where it's just the rent we can offer is less, simply because of the way it's factored out.
It's already tough here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you much. Okay, we move on to 5.02, Commissioners and Officers Reports. Anything happening in the city of Ventura that we should know about? Jim, you usually
Well,
have
obviously,
something.
the X Games are coming. About 6 weeks. It's happening so fast. It's gonna be 2 or 3 times bigger than it was last year. I warn all of you about traffic, because the parking lot is not gonna be there like it was last year. So we're getting a lot of buses and trains. We've got 2 trains wrapped coming up. And I guess the reason I'm talking about traffic is I actually had someone call me regarding the Mountains to Beach marathon that happened. I was involved with that and noticed that they closed a lot of the streets down here. And I think I mentioned it to everybody last month. Don't go out traveling, or at least find out where you're traveling, at least find out where the closures are. Because it closed a lot of streets. And we're not gonna be closing a lot of streets for the X Games. But there's gonna be a lot more public transportation to it and a lot more people coming from all over California to go to this thing. Because it's much bigger and we don't have San Diego involved with it.
What are the dates? When is it?
June 29th. Actually, there's some really neat activities going on if you want to see drones. If you like drones in the sky, last year we had, I think, 100 drones downtown. We're gonna have 500 drones having shows. Starting Wednesday, there'll be drones down at the Harbor District, 9:30, the drone show. Thursday, the 19th, I'm sorry, on the 26th.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 27th, which is a Thursday. And then the X Games are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Drone shows at 9:30, 9 o'clock every night. Tickets are a little bit more expensive, but you can go in and out. If you have any questions, just go on the website for I'm trying to think of the website, the best website to go on. Well, probably X Games California, or X Games Ventura, that's even better. And it has all the listings of when everything's going on and stuff like that. But just a lot of things going on for families and things like that. We got 9 music acts coming, and ride your bike if you can, because we expanded the bike corral, just lots of stuff going on. Be very busy. So I'll mention it again at our next meeting, if we have a meeting in June.
June 12th.
Well, we'll see about that in a second.
But anyway, tell your neighbors, tell your friends. Be a lot of people there. Be a lot of fun.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, last year was interesting, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. It will be new and improved. And yeah, when you go up to the box office, just say, Jim, that'll either get you a discount or security card. One of the two, we haven't quite figured out.
Buy your ticket before you go to the box office.
Anything else?
I was gonna cede my 10 minutes to the gentlewoman across the.
All right, very well done.
Ready? Just to say from my part, in terms of sharing, it was a great conference. It was very informative in terms of collaboration. It gave us a lot of ideas on how we might collaborate to leverage our work here. And I attended the healthcare one, so I have a lot of ideas along those sides, and I bet Jeff's ear just talking about all the different ideas, and I'm sure that Kate is going to share with you a lot more, but it was very useful. It was a very useful conference. It was just fantastic sectors that were present. It wasn't just Public Housing Authority. It was a lot of other people, and that was what was exciting about it, because there's no way we can do any of these things by ourselves, and so we got a lot of ideas.
Yeah, when it started, they had set it up, structured it to be like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I don't know if now it's
They
kind of
did, because
evolved
they have
into that.
paths. They have healthcare and education and workforce.
Yeah, workforce.
So they definitely, the plenaries were generic, like cross-sector collaboration ideas. But the individual workshops were specific to the categories.
Yeah, so I followed the education portion. It was talking about higher learning, and also it was like higher learning all the way to chronic absences within school. So it just talked a lot about partnerships and how important they are within the housing authority for success of the residents and self-sufficiency of the residents. Starts in kindergarten, starts with reading, and it works its way all the way through till college. I thought it was I thought it was really interesting to hear about how different collaborations between the partners together worked. It wasn't just one partner or one, it was the way everybody came together. And one thing I do remember particularly that hit me was they had mentioned, one of our biggest things is looking for participation right now within our residents. And I was speaking with, the Housing Authority of LA, LACMA, right? HACLA, that's right, HACLA, sorry. And they were speaking, on their challenges within their partners partnering together and using the same space. So I was able to get some numbers and some ideas to call and just kind of see how I could improve that myself. And, the importance that they did is, strain was the relationship with the residents. They mentioned we never had anybody coming out. Nobody wanted to participate. And it was that relationship we started building with residents where they have property managers going out and individually working with residents to build that relationship. And that's when they finally started seeing people coming out. It's that comfort space that they want to be in before they come out and participate in any of our learning sessions or anything that we're offering as a housing authority. So I have some ideas too, and I'm ready to take off with them. So that's my report. I really had a good time this year at DC. Thank you.
Jeff, what did you think? For sure.
It was terrible. No, I actually, you know, I had, this was my first, this is our 10-year anniversary of Housing Is, and so it was my first, and so I think both of you did collaboration. It was really, everything was about that. Nobody's by themselves doing this work. And so there were some great examples. Seattle School District for me was the big takeaway. They have a great partnership between the Housing Authority and the school district. They have a data sharing agreement. Karen and I have talked about that. How that might work and how the challenges there, but they actually are really able to sort of track kids that are sort of in trouble at school and connect back with the families, and they have some good systems of doing that. So it's just, it's great opportunities there. And I sat in, I think some of the other ones was how to take advantage of partnering with sort of CalAIM and Medicare. There's a lot more energy around that, especially in this state with Proposition 1 passing, that the healthcare industry is really seeing housing as a solution to healthcare challenges. And that's going to throw some money at housing agencies, perhaps more for services and tenant support than actually housing costs, but that's all part of the equation of the work that we do. So it was a really good conference and great takeaways. I have lots and lots of notes. So
yeah, which is really good. I remember this was the 10th annual. I remember the first one, and it was really, the whole thing was health and education, finding out what we do, us trying to find out what health and education do, and realizing that we're all serving the same folks.
Yeah,
it's just because everybody needs health, everybody needs education, and everybody needs housing. And it was really that enlightenment of being able to speak with people. It's a very unique conference. It's a really good one.
They're wonderful. They're really rich.
Yeah.
Really rich.
It was smaller than the
Yes.
other one, so it was easy to just be able to talk one-on-one with people, ask questions, and yeah, we had to keep pulling Kate out of the meetings. Come on, Kate. I'm getting text messages and I'm in the middle of a question. I'm like, I have a flight, I gotta go, but I got your card.
that's a good one.
That's a great venue too.
Yeah.
The National Housing Center is really.
Although,
it's really
what was your takeaway from all the pictures on the wall?
Oh, that's right. No, I can't say that here.
Yes, please. Picture?
It was the Hall of Fame
There's a
for
Hall
the
of Fame.
National Housing Center, right?
Yes.
It was just all white men.
Yeah.
How many All- women? Four women out of like 150, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It was just
How far does it go back?
We should write a letter.
1900.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yes, yeah, it goes.
That's why. Because women
Why
weren't
is
involved
that,
in
why is that?
Women
You
were,
ask?
were being called out. I mean, there were women in very early, there was a couple of women in the very early stages, so it isn't as if though they weren't there. They just weren't being voted for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was our
was our Hall of Famer there, the head of the HUD, Housing and Urban Development on the cabinet there.
Marcia? Who are we talking about?
Adrian.
Oh, Adrian.
Child.
Adrian,
No.
yeah, because
Was she there?
Russia is retired.
No.
These are mostly home builder folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Private.
Yeah,
sector
which
home
is
builder
actually
folks.
kind of the good thing
Yeah.
about it, because, that's what makes it really different than in our old conferences. Is that it isn't tied to HUD, it's, really.
Jimmy Carter was there, Harry Truman was there.
Okay, but still, the preponderance of.
Oh, yeah, I
Guys.
don't know about it, people of color, I don't recall whether there was any people of color, so.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Well,
But that's okay, we're gonna move forward and we're gonna.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody needs to write a letter, I'll do it.
Start recognizing some women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if there are no other reports, during our adjournment,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Oh.
we see, June 12th on there. There is a problem, though. There turns out being a conflict
Oh.
with the CLAPA summer meeting up in Portland, Oregon. So ordinarily, we would look to the next Wednesday, but that poses a problem for our CEO.
Yes.
So what we're looking at, and particularly also keeping in mind, we mentioned that HUD was coming to audit in July,
Right.
is with the idea that the next board meeting would be Wednesday, June 26th. And that would also take the place of the July board meeting, just to free up a little bit of staff time, because they will be entertaining, and it's always a fun thing to do, the HUD auditors.
Then we wouldn't have a meeting on July.
We
10th.
would not,
Correct.
we would not have a meeting in July. The June 26th meeting, assuming that works for commissioners, would take the place of both the June and the July meeting.
Maybe try it also.
And well, we're hoping,
We'll have to
that's gonna
re-poll.
be the hope, that'll be, kind of an email
Yeah.
thing, but certainly for us. So if it looks okay for everybody, our future meeting, our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, June 26th.
Yeah.
Here at 3 p.m.
Okay.
at 995 Riverside Street,
Oh, please.
and then no July meeting.
Correct.
Okay, then.
Before we close, I'd like to close the meeting in honor of Stephanie.
You're here.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, very good, Jim. That's very thoughtful and well deserved.
I think we should give a vote on that change to cover both.
Oh, okay.
So we get a move,
Okay.
a motion for that.
So do we have a motion to move the June 12th board meeting to Wednesday, June 26th at 3 p.m. at 995 Riverside Street,
And no July.
and no July meeting? Thank you.
I so moved.
Second.
Any second. Okay, Carol is the maker of that motion. And we have Selpa as the second. And did you get it? Okay. Okay, thank you. So we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Thank you, everyone. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sparta,
Yes.
Commissioner Simonson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Salcedo,
Yes.
Commissioner Keller,
Yes.
Vice Chair White.
Yes.
Chair Plansky.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Before we adjourn, anything else? Carol.
If you could you, I saw the time down here on the
Yeah.
Westview Day, upcoming day. And anything else we should know in terms of inviting people, not inviting people? Where can they park? I've had this question already because a newspaper article made mention of it.
We're working on the details. Feel free to, I mean, mostly it's gonna be parking within the Westview, around the Westview community, I think for the most part. But I feel free to circulate to anybody. It's a come one, come all. We'd love to have everybody come for the event. We're working on the details, but generally it's gonna be sort of, some greeting comments, recognizing our partners. Congressman Carbajal will speak. We'll look for a couple other speakers. I don't want it to be a long list of speakers. We'll provide lunch and then we'll, after the festivities, we'll do the ribbon cutting and then we'll have tours of the building. And so it'll probably be, 12:30 to 2:30 or so, something like that.
Okay, good, thank you.
Sure.
That helps.
Yep.
Even though the meeting's in June, and May is bike to work month, you can still bike to that in June.
You can't, that's true.
Okay.
Great.
All right, and on that note, we will adjourn until Wednesday, June 26th.
Nope.